Okay, Rachel, please do the roll call.
Richard Maston,
Here.
Russell Webb,
Here.
Rachel Anger is here, Kathy Calhoun,
Here.
Sharon Roy, Pam Moser, Paula Noble,
Here.
John Kalila, Mike Shelton,
Here.
Kathy Dunham,
Here.
Kenny Curley,
Here.
Yukiko Hayata, Pam Delabar,
Here.
Marilee Griswold,
Here.
Holly Hootenanemy,
Here.
Carol Krasnowski,
Here.
Ann Mathis,
Here.
Daryl Newkirk.
Here.
We also have Shelley Perkins,
Here.
Eileen Tartaglia.
Here.
Is Christy Wallum on the call?
Here.
James Simbro,
Here.
Matthew Wong.
Here.
Is Eva Chen on the call? Okay, so I'm circling back. Is Sharon Roy on the call? Pam Moser. John Kalila.
I'm here, sorry.
Oh, John's here. Thank you. Yukiko Hayata.
Here.
Great. So we're missing Sharon Roy, Pam Moser. I'll turn it back over to you, Rich.
Thank you, Rachel. Meeting is called to order. Welcome, everyone. May I have a motion to approve the orders of the day or any changes or additions?
Delabar moves.
Any seconds?
Okay, are there any additions or changes? Any discussion? Any objections? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Rachel, please do ratification of online motions.
I would like to move to ratify motions 1 through 4 and 6. Those are the motions that carried in our online motions and need to be ratified now.
Carol seconds.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Rachel. Any discussion? Any objections? Seeing no objections, motion passes unanimously.
I do have a note about motion number 5. We have an executive session. Executive session item that's relating to this. I'd like to bring this motion back up at that time for a vote.
Okay.
And that's it. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Rachel, you will keep track of that when we go into executive session then, correct?
I sure will. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Rachel. Moving on to agenda item number 3, judging program. Vicki Nye.
Sorry, unmuting myself. Good evening, everyone. I wasn't sure if Russell was going to present or myself, but I'd be happy to. We do not have any motions to bring forward at this time. Any judging program rule changes or show rule changes will come up in October. But I just wanted to catch everyone up because we have a new committee with what we've been doing the last 6 weeks. The judging program committee has been very busy. Russ and I have met several times via phone call. We had a full committee meeting on July 5th to select application administrator. And after much discussion, the judging program committee opted to select 2. We are hopeful we're going to have a lot of applicants, and that will keep these application administrators busy. We've divided up their tasks in Leslie Carr will handle applicants from regions 1 through 9, and Jodelle Raymond will handle the international division. And Jodelle has already been busy looking over an application that we have. The second thing that we've been busy doing, we have a breed awareness school coming up August 24th through 27th in Hong Kong. There are currently 23 full participants signed up, and this is a breed awareness school. We've allowed those that attended a Zoom breed awareness school in the last 2 years, but were not able to do the in-person handling. They can sign up to do that at the Hong Kong show. They will be doing handling on both Saturday and Sunday. And as I mentioned, I believe there's 23 full participants plus 9 more handling only. Which brings me to the material and the curriculum we use for the Breed Awareness School. Day one is classroom teach, which has to do with etiquette, how to apply to the judging program, a number of subjects. They have not been updated fully in maybe 10 years. So the committee, with the great help of Teresa Sweeney, who is a PowerPoint whiz, we were able to redo the first 3 classes, which were in a corrupted file, and then all 8 classes have been refreshed, new logo, any show rule changes applied. So that's 321 slides, and I'm very grateful to my team for all the cooperation that it took to get that done. The second piece is that day 2 of the classroom teach, we divide up into long hair and short hairs. And at the annual, there was a new program rolled out by Breeds and Standards where we would get new slides, new breed presentations from each of the breed council secretaries. What we used in the past sometimes has been very dated, photos 10, 15 years old, no standard change updates. Plus the fact that we do 23 short hair breeds on one day, and trying to get through breed presentations that are 40 and 50 slides long was near to impossible. So these 10 slide updated versions are going to be a great help, and we'll be using the experience of the judges that teach these to amplify those 10 slides. At the October board meeting, I mentioned that we are going to have some show rule changes and judging program rule changes, and I wanted to bring those to your attention. The first has to do with Ann Mathis's committee, the associate judges, and we are going to be putting in a request to modify show rule 20.03, which has to do with guest judges, the percentage of guest judges you're permitted at a show based on the number of rings in proportion to the number of CFA judges. This has been something that's been talked about for quite a while, but we've hesitated to do because of the lockdown in various countries and the inability to get CFA judges into these countries. Most everywhere is open now, although the airfares to China are still quite pricey. And so we requested that this is going to be effective on May 1st, and we're going to roll in associate judges in with the guest judges for the percentage of judges that have to be CFA judges versus guest judges. The second rule change we're going to work on is show rule 311. Oh, excuse me, that was 311. 2003 is to actually document how much associate judges get paid. That's never been documented in the rules. And then in the judging program rules, we have a couple of items, small items that are more definitional changes, but the large one we are going to bring forward. The judging program committee was unanimous in our discussion on this. And at this point, we want to let the board know that we will be presenting the removal of the accelerated program from the judging program rules, that method of applying to the judging program. This came out in 2019 with a focus group. It was approved by the board February 2020. We've never had an applicant. There's no infrastructure that's ever been built, the tests or the in-person setup to actually have them do judging. And frankly, most anyone that would apply for this program would also meet the requirements for the regular judging program. We've heard a lot of comments that it's unfair. It would be preferential treatment to somebody on the judging program's friend or somebody on the board's friend. And I think it's best to have everyone just come through the judging program and get the experience that they do when they come through as a regular applicant. So that is a heads up to the board that we will be bringing that forward. And anybody that would like to discuss that with myself or Rich, you're welcome to give me a call. Or not Rich, I'm sorry, Russell. And that's it for the judging program.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Vicky and Russell? Daryl, I'm sorry, Pam Delabar first.
Am I on?
I can hear
Okay,
you.
I'm on mute. Okay. Vicky, we've gone over some of the things on the guest judging program, and I know that we allow people to guest judge for World Cat Congress organizations, and there are 9 of those minus TICA. We have judged, several of us have judged for many different independents, and we do have a listing of associations that we are in reciprocity with, especially on accepting their documents for registration and a few other things. Can we work up something to where we can build on the history so that when these, especially the independents, because that's a concept that unless you're in Europe, you don't really understand independence. So we can, not have to come to the judging program committee, be rejected, and then have to come to the board where we can work up this listing and get a real firm grasp on the organizations that we can be allowed to guest judge for. That was one thing. On the associates and through the chair, last Wednesday, an email went out to the associates saying something to the effect of the excuse me, the associate program may be discontinued, which caused a lot of consternation on the part of the associates. Secondly, they were told that they have to have 3 shows in 1 year. I mean, we approved judges don't have to have 3 shows except in 2 years. I was wondering where that came from. And then
Okay, Pam, you're going to have to let me answer some of these before I get
Okay.
lost in my reply.
okay, never
With
mind.
response to the independents, my suggestion is to go to the CFA website and see if they're already listed there. And if they're not, the best way to do it is that application is not that extensive. Provide it to the organization that you'd like to have reciprocity with, judging reciprocity, and provide it to Rachel, because the rest of us are not going to know what this organization is, and the board is going to be voting on something that they're not familiar with. I'm more than happy to go through any sort of historical lookup on what we've approved for guest judging. I think the list, the Excel list we keep is probably at least 10 years old, has that much history. So I'd be more than happy to provide that. But as you get independents that come up, I know we did Fella Day not long ago, and that was approved without any problem. I don't know what other independents that have come forward, but if they get approved through the executive committee, I may not know what they are. So that's the first piece. The second question that you had to do with some email that went out. I have not, the judging program committee didn't send any email out indicating that the associate judging program was going away. Perhaps at some time in the future, as we move these people, hopefully to the regular judging program, there may come a time where we want to sunset it, but there has not been any firm discussion on this. And the third piece that you're talking about is The judging program rule, I believe it's 9.18, says that you must have 3 judgings in 2 years, 3 judging assignments in 2 years. That's the only rule that I know that applies. I do have a few a few associate judges that have not judged at all, and one that has judged 1 time. So that would be something that they might want to look at and be aware of. But it is in the judging program rules. It's not something new. Was there another question?
Yes, I'll send you the email that went out because I got a copy of it. And
The one question I had was that the breed awareness schools that were held during Zoom that did not have the handling piece, that is not alone is not going to qualify them for the judging program. That's one reason why this breed awareness school in Hong Kong was opened up to anybody that wants to just do the handling only, so they could attach it to their experience of day 1 and day 2. And I imagine we're going to do the same thing at the international show, have it open so that those associate judges or anyone who attended that wants to apply to the judging program that wasn't able to take advantage of the handling because we were all locked down, they can attend that.
okay, the other question I had is on the judging program rules, which, sorry, my papers are not exactly, it's judging program rule 13-1A, says attendance at a CFA judges
Oh,
workshop will earn 3 CEUs. And we have been given 2 CEUs for attending workshops at the annual meeting.
I realize that normally they base them on the number of hours that they take. And since we shortened this workshop up because there weren't going to be any breed presentations, we're going to be doing 2 more breed presentations, which will be an hour each. So you got the 2 CEUs for the in-person workshop, and then the opportunity to get 2 more CEUs for each of the other 2 workshops, the Maine Coon and the Likoi.
1 more CEU for each.
Yes,
Right,
because they're based 1 CEU per each hour
right.
of presentation. We'll probably need to adjust that show rule because of what's happened with COVID, or if we start adding a breed presentation workshop onto the actual workshop, then it'll be back to 3.
Are these going to be recorded?
Yes,
So judges can go back that cannot attend at 3 o'clock in the morning, that
Yes.
can go through. I'm sorry, I I have some very disgruntled people, and I'm not real thrilled about getting up at dark 30 to watch breed stuff, but I will because of that's what is expected of judges, is to continue our education. But I please at least get us the recorded sessions so people can participate along with everybody else. If not at the same time, at least with the same subjects and information.
My suggestion, when
sorry.
you do that, to take a screen print of the beginning of the Zoom class or whatever the recording that you're doing, when you send that to Anne, so she is aware that the participant actually viewed it and that she's got a record of the person's name too.
Thank you, Vicki, for being a
Sure.
font of information.
Carol?
I also did want to mention that Liz Watson is extending her leave of absence through September 17th, 2023.
Okay, Daryl?
Yes, can we please update Russell's title from vice chair to co-chair?
Where is that, Daryl?
It's at the head under Executive Committee, Co-Chair Vicky Knight, Vice Chair Liaison Russell Webb. I sent Rachel an email a few days ago, but she probably didn't get it. So anyway,
Yes.
that needs to be corrected.
Thank you. We're both co-chairs, so that would be the correct title for both of us.
Yes.
Daryl, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. Does anybody else have any questions for Vicky or Ann or Russell?
Vicky, that 1 year was an error. It should have been 2 years. That's my mistake. I'm typing that in an email right now. But yes, I will send to them that they have 2 years, by the way.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Vicky, do you have any additional
No,
information you want to review?
I took care of that in the opening, and the guest judging report doesn't have anything unusual on it. It's a little shorter for us guest judging for other association judges, guest judging for us because of our utilization of the associate judges. And Ann Mathis is working on she has 3 additional associate judges who have not been advanced from trainee to associate judge, and she's working with them to get their video teaches completed.
Pam Delabar?
Just to let you know, Ann and Vicky, that Cristiano is not back to work yet. He's highly interested in the associate program, and we all wish him quick recovery.
Absolutely.
No problem.
Okay, Vicky, do you have anything else?
No, I'm hoping that everyone took a chance to read Teresa Sweeney's report. It looks very hopeful and optimistic for growth in our judging program. I am very excited. We're moving faster in the international division with applicants than in the US, but there's quite a number of them that are working on their requirements, doing cattery visits, marking their judges book, getting mentors. So all the encouragement of qualified or people you think look promising to the judging program, they look up to the board members, give them some encouragement, please. We did get 2 letters of appreciation from Padma and Chait, who were trainees for long hair that came to the United States to train, and they are back in Thailand and they are judging. And they sent 2 letters in thanking the board and the judging program for all the time that we've given them. We also have 2 applications that will come up in October. These are both from Hong Kong. They are both associate judges and they've applied to the regular program. We also, just in the last couple of days, we have a 3rd application you'll be able to take a look at. It is a 2nd specialty from China. It's Gavin Cao. He has provided us his application that has been reviewed by both Jodelle Raymond and myself for his 2nd specialty, which he is also an associate judge for.
Very
And I
good.
really promise that's the end of it.
Okay. Well, Vicky, thank you very much to you and your committee for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Vicky, are you going to join us during executive session? Or
If
is
I'm needed, I'll be available. Somebody can text me and let me know, but I'll be on until we get there.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to agenda item number 4, International Division. Kathy Calhoun.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. I'll try and be brief. The report pretty much is self-explanatory. We want to welcome Jan Rogers and Brad Newcomb to the team. They bring both a global perspective and a new perspective to the team, so that's good. We were very pleased with the Zoom and in-person meeting of the International Division at the CFA annual. That went very, very well. We are really getting off to a really good start in the 2023-24 season. We've got 6 shows that have already occurred in China, 17 shows of reserved dates. And as Vicky said, we're very happy that the Breed Awareness and Orientation School is being planned in Hong Kong. Very huge thanks to the judging committee. In ID Asia, except for China, we've got 16 shows, 1 clerking school. We've got shows in Hong Kong, Indonesia, Korea, Malaysia, Thailand. We have an additional 48 clubs that have reserved dates for the 23-24 season. So we're very pleased about that. The ID Award Banquet for Asia, other than mainland China, will be in Hong Kong, where the BAOS is. We're very happy about that. They're doing a great job of pulling all the doing all the things that's necessary to have such a monumental event there in Hong Kong. And in the China ceremony will be in Shanghai, and that will be November 8th, 17th through the 19th. Our new members are getting it off to a fast start, and we're really excited about bringing new news to the board in October.
Does anybody have any questions for Kathy or Matthew? Kathy, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to show scheduling, Pam Mosier, thank you for joining us. I see you're here. Correct?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear
Okay,
you. I see you.
Okay, well, I apologize for being late. I didn't even look at the time since we always did it at 5, my time. I didn't even look, so I apologize for being late. Okay, so on this show, I received the letter from the National Norwegian Cat Club saying that they did not think that they that this other club, which is the Atlantic Phoenix Cat Club, should have a show opposite their show. And what I have to say about it is that although there are several objections to approval from the show scheduling committee, and because each side of the issue have expressed their arguments, the committee makes a decision initially and primarily because of the guidelines rules that were approved by the board. While neither I or Mary were influenced by the pleas of each side, our decision is non-biased and takes into account the guidelines and what is best for CFA altogether. And more importantly, that measurement of whether a show should happen or would compete against another is not based upon the number of expected entries, but in the exposure for CFA and the financial success of a show. Declining entries across the United States is not going to save clubs. In this instance, the show distance between the clubs are the Illinois show and the Georgia show, the Atlantic Phoenix show, is 733 miles, and the show in the National Norwegian show is 815 miles away. According to our guidelines, that is sufficient. It's over 500 miles, so we approved the show. Any questions?
Pam, did you say 815 or 850 miles?
815.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Mhm.
Kenny? Kenny, you're on mute.
Speaking on behalf of the Atlanta Phoenix show, they've tried very hard to find a date that would be suitable for them. Let's remember this is a February date. We have no shows at the end of February in our region at this time. Most of their entries will be coming from Florida and neighboring states. Very few people are going to travel down to Georgia for a show at the end of the month, unless there's a huge snowstorm up north, which nobody can predict. So I agree that the guidelines are 815 miles is quite excessive. She used to compete against a show that was much closer. And they did indeed hurt each other. But I think with the what's happening now with the successful gates that we're getting, because we're finally listening to get the public in the door, I don't think it's going to affect either show.
Okay, Kenny, thank you. Daryl?
I think that people in that area need a show to go to. And as Kenny said, they don't have a show in the region on that date. So it's, to me, this show needs to be approved. I'll be supporting it.
Okay. Marilee?
Yes, I also know their traditional date did compete with another show. And in the past, they did move it at one point. And it worked out really well for both of the shows involved in the Southern region. I can't really fathom that people are gonna prefer to drive the 800 miles south versus going to the show for the National Norwegian Forest Cat. So I think this is a reasonable request.
Okay, Pam Mosier?
Yes, just what Marilee was stating. The Atlantic Phoenix show, that they used to be against crab and mallet, which was in the same region. And that did affect their entries because it was, you know, same region. So that's, and they did try, they tried to move, they moved in 2020 to the fourth weekend in February to the different location. They had a fabulous gate. It worked out very well. They wanted to stay with that if you know, if possible. I asked, you know, if they could they continue on their same date in April, and they said it just doesn't work because of the crab and mallet. Plus they don't even know if they have their show hall any longer. So this was, you know, they wanted to go back to the same show hall where they got the great gate. And so I think that's a reasonable request.
Kathy Calhoun?
My question, I am in support of the Atlantic Phoenix show also occurring, but my question really is there is there a motion that we're debating, that we're discussing, or the decision's been made by the committee?
Right.
So I don't see a motion here as to what we are.
There is no motion yet unless Sharon Roy wishes to make a motion. Sharon?
No, I was writing on behalf of the club, but I will say that, yes, it is over the 800 miles. They were more worried about the people from the northern part of the southern region and losing a bulk of entries from them. That's where the Norwegian Forest Cat people had some concerns.
Okay, Sharon, you're not going to make a motion to ask?
No, it seems kind of fruitless at this point. So no.
Okay, all right, just want to clarify that. Okay, Pam Mosier? Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
I mean, and I will go ahead and tell Atlantic Phoenix that that their show has been approved. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pam.
Mhm.
Pam, did you have anything else you want to share?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pam and Mary. Moving on to agenda item number 6, experimental format request. Sharon?
Sorry, I'm a little disorganized here. I just got in and I've had phone calls all day and phone calls all the way home. Anyway, these 3 formats were presented by Kathy Dunham from Region 6. And I guess if she wants to, I'd like her to explain them or to, you know, what they're looking for with these formats, although her write-up is very self-evident.
Okay, Kathy Dunham.
Thank you, Sharon and Rich. We have 3 requests in Region 6 for experimental formats for the OCP rings. The first one is for Mocan Cat Club, November 4th and 5th of 2023. They would like to use already contracted judges due to the space in their show hall. Again, they will only do this format if the minimum number of entries for opens and champions and opens and premieres are achieved. Do you want to vote on them separately, or do you just want me to explain them all and we'll go back?
So Kathy, are you doing a standing motion on all three?
I am.
And Sharon Roy, are you a standing second on all three?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we get that out of the way. We can do them separately, and the reason why I want to do them separately is the last one goes into a new year. And at some point in time, I'm going to ask Eileen and James to just share some potential concerns we have if we're going to allow this format to continue into a new year. So we'll do them separately. Pam Delabar?
We approved the OCP rings to be used for regional award shows. I have no problems supporting the one for the Midwest Regional Award Show, and they're doing it as we originally approved this, which was to be a standalone type of situation. But the other two they do not fit the criteria that we set when we established the OCP rings.
Pam, thank you for pointing that out. Kenny?
Well, not to disagree with Pam, but we've really never established any rules about, we have been in favor of separate judges standing alone in a separate ring for this. These clubs are asking specifically to use some contracted judges. I can just tell you this, every time we've had this at one of the shows in my region, it is tremendously popular. Our exhibitors want it. And I am in favor of every single one of these.
Thank you, Kenny. Sharon?
Yes, Mike, I'm in favor of them too. And when I did some walking around and talking both with judges and with exhibitors, and I did put it in the June report, they actually prefer to use existing judges and existing rings. We have judges that don't want to accept a standalone OCP ring and travel all the way to the show to maybe have 60 entries to judge. My other concern is back last spring, we turned down 3 Southern region clubs in the greater or in the northern part of the region, saying that there were too many in that region. If we agree to do this, and I have no problem with these clubs having them, we need to revisit it if some of these clubs again ask, because we can't say no to the Midwest for 3 and then say yes to the Midwest for 3 and then say no to, the northern part of the Southern region who did ask to do it as well.
Thank you, Sharon. Marilee?
Yes, I'm kind of with Kenny on this, because not only do the exhibitors seem to love it, so do the clubs. That's why they keep asking for them. We've had these going on for a few years now. When would we be looking at them not being experimental? Maybe just putting them into the show rules.
Sharon, do you want to address that question?
Hold on. Do you want me to raise my hand here? I'm
No,
sorry.
No, go ahead and address the
Okay.
question.
My concern with just putting it in the show rules without some kind of guidelines, like every region can only have, I don't know, throw out a number of 5 per year and they need to pick it, is if we do it as just a regular show rule and let anybody do it, we are looking at possibly raising grant points in order to keep it going that way.
Pam Mosier, you had your hand up?
Well, I lowered it because it was what Marilee said. I said, when did this stop becoming experimental format? I mean, we've been doing this for, quite some time. And they just keep saying experimental. I mean, either put it in the show rules or drop it. As far as I'm saying, I'm not for this, and I never have been. So it's my 2 cents.
Okay. Carol?
I think that part of the reason why we have not moved forward with this to be a permanent format is that we were supposed to be receiving some kind of information back from the clubs and or the exhibitors where these where these formats were held, so that we would know what was good about it, what was bad about it, and therefore could make changes or not before we would move forward with making them a permanent format. So that's part of the problem. I don't think I've ever seen any kind of a report on how these rings were received at particular shows where they're held.
Mary Lee? Thank you, Carol.
Yes, I do hear Sharon's concern that maybe we would have to look at increasing grant points, but at this point, the counts are so low at the shows. I think watching grand points and if we have, a plethora of grands coming in, we can address grand points going forward.
Okay, thank you. Sharon?
The only thing I want to say, people have been talking about it, it's been many years. The first OCP rings were held in the Southern region at their regional in 2022. So it's only been like a year and 2 months. It hasn't been many years. That's all.
Kathy Dunham?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I know that Show Me Cat Fanciers did submit a report to the board upon the completion of their first OCP rings. My regional show committee from this past June is working on theirs, and it will be available at the October meeting. So I know some reports have been provided. I can't speak for all of them, but I try very hard to get my region to comply with the request of having reports done. And back to the request for MOCAN. MOCAN, this is their first request for this, and it would be on the furthest western side of our region, which is a new location for this format to take place in our region. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Aline, would you please, or Kathy Calhoun first, then Aline. Kathy?
Yeah, I just have a quick question for Kathy Dunham on the MOCAN request. So if they are going to use existing judges for the OCP rings, will the judges potentially provide scores for some of the cats twice? So they would participate in the normal ring where you would have champions, top 10 champions, top 10 premieres, or top 15, depending on how successful the show is. Then again, would they judge the same cats in the OCP ring? How would that work?
No, they only judge the cats once. And if they're an already contracted judge, they would just do their top 10 champions or top 10 premieres. And then they would present their top 10 grands and grand premieres. So the
Okay.
champions would only get points once.
Thank you.
Penny?
Yeah, you're not going to get double points in this. One of the things as a judge, and I did one of the very first ones, Sharon came down and did it at our Southern Region extravaganza in Stanford. And I followed that up with a show in Baltimore. And I was an officiating judge. I had 3 long hairs and 3 short hairs in my all breed final. In my OCP ring, I had 10 short hairs. It was a very exciting time for the short hair people.
Okay, thank you, Kenny. Sharon?
Actually, Kenny just kind of explained it almost perfectly. You're still going to name your top 3 short hairs, your top 3 long hairs, and then you're going to do your top 10. And in the case, like Kenny said, even if he'd only done the 6, his top 3 all breed champions would have been short hairs. So whenever a judge does it, if they don't have 3 long hairs and 3 short hairs in their top 10, they have to name the 3 long hairs and 3 short hairs as well, but they only get points once.
Thank you, Sharon. Kathy Calhoun, do you have another question or comment? Okay. Eileen, would you just take a couple minutes and share with the board some of the potential challenges at central office with the scoring on this?
To specifically address the June 2024 show, I think it was already mentioned by a couple of board members that this is now going into the 3rd year of doing an experimental format. So at what point do we stop having experimental formats? But the particular challenge for the central office is the OCP rings, regardless of whether they are simply expanding the top 10 or they're doing standalone, it has to be hand scored by the office. So if we're going to continue with these shows into the new year, then we will be presenting a budget item to do the programming for these shows, these rings. And if we are going to continue having 2 types of OCP shows, either the expanded final or standalone, then it could potentially double our programming costs because it's 2 separate types of programming. I spoke with James today. We both agree that the potential cost could be in the area of $30,000 to program for both types. So I would just encourage the board to pick one, and that's the one we go with if we're going to go into the new show season. Shirley is retiring at the end of the show season. We just simply can't continue to hand score these shows. It takes double the time, and it's very tricky to do.
So Eileen, at present time, how many of these rings have we scored year to date? Has Shirley scored?
This season to date, there haven't been hardly any. Not that maybe 4 or 5. I'm not sure exactly.
So maybe one every 3 to 4 weeks?
Probably. I think that's what it was the prior year. We ended up having around maybe between 10 and 12. I'm not sure of that. I didn't check that.
So when you say it takes Shirley double the amount of time to score the show, are we talking an extra hour, an extra 2 hours, an extra 4 hours per show?
It might be an extra hour or 2 for the show. And a lot of it is the tweaking of grand points. These rings have to be scored manually, and then she has to figure out which are the higher points and then go in and modify the grand points for each cat to have the appropriate number of points. Nor do they show up in the count for scoreboards. None of it is automated. So it's happening, but it's all manual, and we just won't have the people to do it manually once the new show season starts. It's not an easy process.
So if Shirley has to do upwards of 2 per week, is that going to create a situation where she's putting in overtime hours? Or will she be able to do it within her normal 40-hour work week?
It's not so much the hours that's needed. It depends on the time of the year. If it is towards the end of the show season, when we have more shows, then yes, she may have to put in overtime. My concern is that effective with the end of the show season, Shirley is retiring. She is no longer going to be scoring shows for us. I mean, not that she's going away, but she's made it pretty clear that she is ready to retire.
Okay, and then my last question before I call on Kenny and Kathy. Can you and James confirm that investment cost to do the programming for our October board meeting?
Yes.
I mean, 30,000 is a big number, and I don't know if it's 5,000 to 30,000 or 30,000 plus.
Well, we estimate each method or each format, whether we're expanding, doing the top 10, or if we're doing the OCP standalone, they're 2 separate program changes. They don't piggyback off of each other. So we estimate that each one would take approximately 15,000. I know that sounds high, but every time we think it's going to be simple, it's going to be easy, it never is, because the scoring software is very complex, because our scoring is very complex. And every time the programmers start to make any change, it breaks things. We have to do testing. It becomes very elaborate, even for what are simple changes.
Okay, assuming the board supports the decision to move forward and spend the dollars to invest in 2 new programs, will the company be able to have the program done in time for the new season?
Yes.
They will.
Well,
it's going to be pushing
Right.
it, because we're looking at wrapping up CSU 2022 by the end of the year. And you're going to be already making some, somewhat significant changes to the scoring process anyhow, to just streamline it and improve what we already have. Now we're putting on top of that these additional changes. We don't know if the programming company's got, they have booked time to the end of the year for our project. They've possibly already committed to other projects from other vendors for after that time. So, just come January 1st, they may not have time to jump right on these changes. Yeah, it may be February, March, and then we're coming up on the end of the year and starting a new show season. So it's going to be very, very tight.
Okay, James, can you also confirm timing on that for the October board meeting?
I can try to, yep.
Okay, Kenny?
Basically, Lena already answered my question as to the cost of each of the different types or styles of the OCP ring. So I think we should just go ahead and move ahead and vote these in.
Okay, Kathy Calhoun?
In addition to getting zero in on what we think the cost would be, which is not in the budget. Also, I would like to know what this may do to other work that this company is doing. If we ask them, is that going to impact our deadline and other projects? So I would like for us to have an eye toward that as well. And I think as to, how well, or the reports that clubs have given, I mean, it's a no-brainer that this brings in more entries. Now the question would be, is it significant? Is it a significant number? Of course it's more, but is it? And I think the analytics of comparing what happened with one and what happened without one is what we really need to dig into and get. And maybe we can get some help from like a Dick Calvay or somebody to help us to quantify this. Because it's a new format. People are excited. It's great. Yes. But where's the analytics?
Okay, Kathy Dunham, this is your motion. All these are your motion. We're going to do each one separately. And Sharon Roy, you made the second. Do either of you have any closing comments?
I do not.
Sharon?
I do not either at this point, but thank you.
All right, let's take the first one, which is MoCan. The date is November 4th, 5th, 2023. John Cluley, you had your hand up.
No, I have a different screen. I was just gonna make sure it works. Sorry.
It's working. Okay, I'm going to call for the vote on this. So if you're in favor, raise your hand. And when I call your name, do not lower your hand until I tell the whole group to lower your hands. Okay, in favor, voting yes, is Kenny Curley, Daryl Newkirk, Kathy Dunham, Russell Webb, Rachel Anger, Carol Krasnowski, Holly Hootenanny, Yukiko Hayata, Mike Shelton, Marilee Griswold, Sharon Roy, Paula Noble, Kathy Calhoun, Ann Mathis. Please lower your hand. If you are opposed, raise your hand. Yukiko, are you in favor or opposed?
No, I forgot to drop off. Just a minute.
Okay, so,
I don't know where I should.
okay,
I did it.
you lowered your hand. Okay. Opposed, John Clula, Pam Delabar, Pam Mosier. Please lower your hand. If you're an abstention, raise your hand. Rachel, no abstentions.
Thank you. That's 14 yes votes, 3 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, motion passes. We're gonna go into the next one, which is Show Me Cat Fanciers. The date is December 9th, 2023. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, I will call for the vote. If you're in favor, raise your hand. Kenny Curley, Carol Kuznowski, Marilee Griswold, Kathy Dunham, Daryl Newkirk, Ann Mathis, Kathy Calhoun, Russell Webb, Mike Shelton, Paula Noble, Polly Hootenanny, Sharon Roy, Rachel Anger. Please lower your hand. If you are opposed, raise your hand. Pam Mosier, Pam Delabar, John Clula, lower your hand. If you are an abstention, raise your hand. No abstentions, Rachel.
I do not have a vote from Hayata. We can take it verbally.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, I said yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
You're good. That's 14 yes votes, 3 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, motion passes. The next one is the Midwest Region Award Show. That is June 15, 16, 2024. Any questions or comments? Sharon?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, based on some of the earlier discussions, if we can wait till after October to vote on this one, when we get some information from James and Aileen on scoring and pricing.
Kathy Dunham, do you want to withdraw your motion?
Yeah, we can table it until October. I mean, we are working on, getting the show license and things together, but we should be fine for October.
Okay, and Sharon, you suggested it, so I assume you agree as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Good recommendation, and it does allow Aline and James to provide to the board additional information, so good working on that. Question for Sharon Roy, and I believe Marilee, you may have suggested it, or Pam Mosier did. Sharon, can you and 1 or 2 other board members work on presenting something to the board for October and in making this a permanent thing available for judges?
Sure.
For clubs, I'm sorry.
Yes, I can. And Marilee, would you work on that with me?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, and if we have 1 other board member, maybe Kathy Dunham, because now her region has some of the most experience, or Kenny. Kenny also has a lot of experience.
Happy to be part of it, Sharon.
Pardon?
Happy to be part of it, Sharon.
Okay, all right. Yes, we
Carol?
can do something. Yeah.
Yes, I'd just like to request that after you work up exactly what it is that you want to propose, if you would also include the show rules committee, contact Ed Raymond, because this way we can get it properly inserted into the rules.
Absolutely.
Ollie?
I actually have a question to Aline and James. How do you score shows, top 10 finals, when there is only opens and premiers or champions present? Because I know there has been shows where it's no grants.
I'm not, so what you're asking is how we score a show if there's only champions in the top 10?
Yeah,
In
because
a
it's
regular
basically
ring? It
basically the
happens.
same. Yeah.
It is the same, but now we have to have additional cats. So it's not doing just top 10. It might be top 15 or top 20 by the time you have the additional champions. So if you have 9 grands, let's say in the top 10, then they've got to choose an additional 10. So it is different from a regular show where there's just champions in the top 10. With the standalone OCP rings, we have to currently, the way we our get around on that is that we score it as a separate show. And then we merge the points from those 2 standalone rings into the other show, the regular show, but taking into consideration which ring did they get the highest points in? You know, was it the final? Was it the OCP? So there's a bit of manipulating for these shows. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Carol Krasnowski, I think you had your hand up and you took it down. Did you have something else?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Sharon, Roy, do you have anything else on experimental format?
No, I don't at this time. Thank
Does
you.
anybody have any questions for Sharon on experimental format? Okay, Sharon, thank you very much. We'll move on to other committees. Rachel, do we have anything from other committees?
I have received nothing for other committees
Okay, Carol.
for open session.
Carol, let's take this opportunity to remind the board and all those watching on the deadline for show rules, so we can get that out.
Yes, it would be great if, well, actually, we're requesting that any show rule changes be submitted to Ed Raymond by September 1st. This will give the show rules committee time to investigate how these changes may affect other show rules and make sure everything's worded properly. And of course, any of the board members who submit a change like that will have an opportunity to review what's going to be presented.
Thank you, Carol. Rachel, do we have any new business?
I do not have any new business.
Okay, Daryl?
Yeah.
Daryl?
Sorry, I was on mute. We had an issue this weekend with the Scottish fold in our judge's book. And I didn't notice it until I was doing my breed sheet, but there was one category for straighters. We have a short hair and a long hair division now. And so it took us a while to try to figure out what was wrong. The class number was wrong because it was the O class number. And so Aline, has anyone contacted you or James about the issue?
No, I thought it was the entry clerks. Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, Dick Kellmeyer sent me an email about that.
Okay.
I looked in there, we've disabled we removed the prefixes for the old color class for the straight haired folds, because we created new divisions for those, and they don't have the new, since a lot of the cats don't, still have the old BCS prefixes. They could mistakenly get put in there. The clerk I believe the clerk would have had to have done that purposefully. It didn't automatically kick that in there. So I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
No. Just saying, the entry clerk is very experienced, and she told me that she entered it using the CFA program. So we apparently have an error.
Okay. Yeah, we can take a look at it again. The problem is we can't just delete it, because then we lose all our old data, all the previous show data that's linked to those old BC or.
And that's what the entry clerk was concerned about was, I mean, the old straight ears were 8800s, and this should have been an 8700 fix.
Right.
Okay. Kathy Dunham?
Yeah, it would have had to have been, if the cat was a new cat to the entry clerk database, it would have been pulled in from the registration database, because that's how it works now. But if it was an existing cat in the database, it would have had to have been manually put in. And Daryl's right, the entry clerking question is very experienced. She helped write the silly program. So, she would have known what needed to be hand keyed and what would have been pulled in. So it is something we need to look at, James, in the programming itself. And if we can direct the two to look at each other.
Okay, yeah, Kathy, I was gonna say, I'll be happy to work with you on that to understand how it actually works with that.
Yep.
And look to see what we can do.
Okay.
James, do you have the information on the specific cat that had the wrong number?
Not the specific cat, but it'd be easy enough to duplicate.
Okay, Marilee.
Well, I can tell you this is happening all over the world. And I think it might have something to do with color class numbers, because before they're in a different color class, and now they're a different division with color classes. So I have people that enter the shows, and apparently the registration number is automatically putting them into, say, like a bicolor class instead of what the exhibitor is entering, which would be a tabby and white class. So, and what this past weekend, we had to change the color class. It just showed up as Scottish straight ear and didn't have the color class of the tabby and white in there at all. We had to add that. I also noticed overseas, someone was posting the breed summary from a show, and they had Scottish straight ear long hairs, Scottish straight ear short hairs, and Scottish straight ear as 3 separate categories in the breed summary. So somehow people are whenever they're entering, maybe it's like you said, some of the old numbers that are automatically kicking into that as some sort of a show category division.
Okay, Marilee, thank you. Daryl.
I just wanted to say that this was a cat that was shown last year. So it's an existing registered cat, not new.
Yeah, it would be in the database then already, which could be part of the problem. So James and I and Cheryl will look at it and look at what needs to be corrected.
Okay, great. Thank you. Daryl, anything else on this?
No, I just wanted to make sure it got brought to the board's attention and central office in James.
Okay, thanks for bringing it to our attention. Any other new business? Okay, Rachel, do we have old business?
No old business.
Okay, does anybody have any old business? Okay. I want to thank everyone for attending the meeting. This meeting is adjourned.